we're going to be talking about making sense of rate of change or slope. What does it mean? So as an example, if you're babysitting and the parents give you $5 per hour, what does it mean? What is the rate of change? Well, first you have to think about the variables. What are the two variables in this problem? You have the time. Okay, so this per hour is going to talk about the time. And the second variable is going to be your salary. What is going to be your salary according to the time? Okay, so those are the two variables. Which one depends on which? Is the salary depending on the time, or the time is depending on the salary? So the salary you're going to get will depend on the time. So when you do your graph, I'm going to call salary S and time T. So you need to know your time if you want to figure out your salary. So we're going to start with 0. If you have at time 0, you're not working. You're working for 0 hours, your salary is going to be 0. If you work for, let's say, 2 hours, then your salary is going to be 2 times 5, so $10. And if you work for, let's say, 5 hours, well, 5 times 5 is going to be 25. So you realize for each hour, you have $5. So that's what we call the rate of change. And when you look at your table of value, you can see here for 2 hours, you get $10. So to calculate your rate of change, you're going to do 10 divided by 2 to get your $5. If you're doing this in a graph, when you graph, make sure that you put some numbers on your graph. So if this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for my time, and I'm doing my salary up here, I'm gonna go by 5. I can do different graduation on the X and Y axis. So I start at 0, 0. For 2 hours, I'm up to 10. And for 5, I'm up to 25. And then you need to draw your line. I'm gonna take the line. And then you're good. Now when you look on your graph, you can also see the rate of change. If I'm looking at my 2 points, for example, you can draw a triangle here. You can look at this variation here. That's what we call the variation of the Y over the variation of the X. The variation of the Y you can count. 5, 10, 15. My variation here is 15. And here you have 1, 2, 3. My variation of my X is 3. So when you calculate, you do 15 divided by 3 and you get your rate of change. Now let's look at a different example. Oh, one more thing I forgot is when you do your graph, you should always give them a title, right? So you should give it a title here, babysitting. And same for your table of value, you can use the same title. Making sense of rate of change or slope again, but in a different example where, let's say you need to hire a plumber, so you call a company for information and they mention that the plumber will charge $50 for the visit plus $60 per hour. So again, first thing you should find what are the two variables. So if there's something about time, we're going to have a variable about time for hours, and how much they're charged, we're going to call it the cost. Okay, and that's going to be in dollars. So I'm going to have, which one depends? The cost depends on your time. So I'm going to start with my time here in hour, and I'm going to have my cost here in dollars. And my title could be plumber. Okay, plumbers. So if you start at 0, what's the cost of your plumber? If he's coming to your place, but he didn't start working, already you have to pay $50 for the visit. If he stays for 1 hour, then you need to add to this. So for 1 hour, you start with your $50, but you add the $60 per hour. So 50 plus 60 is 110. If it was, let's say, for 5 hours, well, if it's $60 per hour, imagine $60 per hour, so times 5, plus the $50 for the visit, then you would have to calculate. That's 300 plus 50, so that's 350. When it's time to do your graph, remember to put your title. So plumber, sorry for my writing. On the x-axis you have your time in hour, and on your y-axis you have your cost in dollars. And then you have to graduate, so we're gonna do the same. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for the hours, and now you have to go by 50, or sorry, you have to go by 60. So what you can do is you can cut your axis. You can say we're gonna start at 50 here, and we're gonna graduate by 60. So that's 110, 170, 3, 4, 5. So here would be 350. Okay, then you can place your dot. So at 0, we start at 50. For 1 hour, it's 110. For 5 hours, it's 350. Remember, we said we need to do 3 points to make sure they are in line. And then you can take your line and you can graph. So there you go. I hope you can do it now. Have fun.